Hi, my name is Sarah Westell and I am one of the reference librarians at Fargo Public Library. Today I am going to be talking to you about the Ancestry Library Edition, which is available on all of our public computers at all of our branches. Now, due to the COVID pandemic, Ancestry has also let the free library edition become available through your home. You still do need to have your library card, but you can browse the library edition of Ancestry right at your home. Ancestry is one of the largest genealogical databases with over 16 billion records. We have many different documents. It covers things like immigration records, census and voting records, military records, and birth, marriage, and death records. I am going to show you now how to get onto Ancestry.com through your home. Once again, make sure that you have your library card available with you. So in order to get on our website, you'll need to type in www.fargolibrary.org. That will bring you to our library website, and on the left-hand side of your page, you will see a link to online resources. We have plenty of online resources available, and you can browse them by subject area. So for genealogy, which is G, you'll go down to the genealogy section, and here is where you'll find the Ancestry Library Edition. Yours will probably be prompted to enter in your library card information and password. That information is your barcode without any spaces or dashes, and then the password is your last name in all capital letters. There are a few things that the free edition of Ancestry does not allow for, and one of those is that you can't create your family tree. So you would need a personalized subscription to Ancestry in order to do that. However, you can browse the public trees, and I would recommend doing that as you complete your search. All right, to get started, you'll obviously click this link that says begin searching. So there's many different categories on this site that you can search through. One of those is the special collections. Now those are the records that I was talking about a little bit earlier, and I would only use those if you know very specific information about your ancestor or need to fill in holes on your research. Another option is that you can explore by location. So if you know where your relatives originated from, you can always go into that and then click on the country, and then it shows you different collections to where you can look at the records and get some more information on your relatives. And now there's another option where it says show more options, and you can actually add things to your search, like when the person was born, when they got married, when they died, or adding a family member such as a spouse or sibling, and that will narrow down your search. I am going to suggest that you do more of a broad search first, because sometimes there are things that are transposed, such as names, or the person can be found by a nickname, things like that. So I just suggest that you start with the broad search. Another thing that I want to show you is that sometimes common names can cause a lot of records to be shown. So for instance, if I type in John Smith here, you'll probably get over 14,000 records. Now, that's a lot of records to go through, so you'll probably want to try to narrow down your search as much as possible. Also, a thing that I want to show you in the records is that if you scroll over the documents, it does give you some information on that individual that will help you as well. And then you can click into these documents. Going back to the search bar, I am actually going to search for a more unique name, which is one of my relatives. She is my great-grandmother. I know some information about her, but I don't know a lot of information about her. So I know her first and last name, and I know where she lived, and then I also know her husband. So I'm going to put all of that information in there to show you how that works on a search. And then here again is where you would go to add family member. So I'm going to add her spouse, which I also know his first and last name. Okay, so that gave me over 3,000 records, and I want to narrow that down because that's a lot of records for me to look at. So over here are search filters, and that can get you to more of the exact name that you're looking for. So here are a few things I know. I do know my great-grandmother's first name, and I do know her last name for sure, and I also know where she grew up and lived. So I'm going to go ahead and click on exact for all of those and click update. And then here it really narrowed it down to 2 records that I could look at for her. So once again, you can go ahead and click in these, and that will give you more information. Over here is the send document link, and I'll show you a little bit more of that later, but this means that you can send the information through email or save it on your computer if there's a document in here that you would like to save. Okay, so moving on, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the census. And the census is one of those things that is good for you to search first. So on your home screen, you'll see the search census. You want to click on search now, and that will actually give you a breakdown of all of the different census. So the census technically is done every 10 years. You probably received a lot of information about that since this year was a census year. But the records get released 72 years after the census, and that's due to things like privacy laws. So the last census where we have the record sent out was from 1940. With that, I will show you what the 1940 census does look like, and I'll actually type in the information that I know from my great-grandmother again. You don't have to fill all of that information in. Again, just fill in what you do know. So here is a census record from 1940. And again, I am going to do exact terms here because I do know where she lived and what her first and last name was. So I'm going to update those. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and view her record from here. And when you scroll over the view record again, it really gives you a lot of information. So it gives you the age of when she took the census, how old she was. It gives you her birth year. It tells you where she lived in 1940, her residence, like her most highest grade completed, and her household members, so her husband and her children. All these link so you can click on those individuals to find out more information as well. Now, what's fun about this is that you can actually view the handwritten census record. So if you go to view record, that will bring you to this clipping right here, which you can click to view. And now her family is highlighted in green and she's highlighted in yellow. So here again, this shows things like the name, the relation, where they lived, if it's a farm or not, their occupation, all things like that that are really neat. Here is where you can go ahead and save that document. So I'm going to click on save, and I'm going to click on save to this computer. So there's one way that you can click to save it on your desktop, or you can send the image to your email. So both of those ways are really great ways to save your information for each ancestor that you are looking for. Now, if I go back, I can also show you another census year. The 1940s is the census that has the most information out of all of the census. And I also want to bring up that the 1890 census was destroyed in a fire. And so there's only about 6,000 records that are available from that time frame. All right, so we'll go back into the census records. And this time I decided I want to look at the 1930 census, which probably has a little bit less information, but is still going to be very relevant to what I'm looking for here. So I will type in my great-grandmother's name again. What's also nice about this is that it tends to fill in your information for you. So if you don't have the exact spelling, things like that, it does try to auto-correct it. And now I want to go ahead and search her in the 1930s federal census. All right, so here I know that this is her second record. This is her husband, things like that. So I'm just going to go in and view the record again. And then also view the actual handwritten document. So here they are again. Like I said, it gives a little bit of information. Like it gives the relationship of the family. It gives the place of birth here of the parents. So you can see that my great-grandfather was born in Russia, and my great-grandmother was, her mother was born in North Dakota, and her father was born in Russia. So both of the individuals here, one of their parents was born in Russia, which is kind of neat. It gives you the occupation again and the industry that they work in and things like that. So these are really good records to look at when you're trying to narrow down your ancestors. So if you're having trouble finding someone, some of the suggestions that I have would be to change up your search terms, such as searching for nicknames or searching for a middle name. And just keep in mind that with immigration records, sometimes the names are transposed. So it might actually be your relative, but the spelling might be different. You can also try things like wildcards. So a question mark replaces one of the letters in the name, and then an asterisk actually replaces 0 or more letters. So I'll show you an example of how to use an asterisk here with my grandmother's last name. So here I put the asterisk after the H, and what I did was maybe I wasn't sure how to spell her name, or maybe I was just looking for a few more records. And so where you see that up here is all results for Martha Feek with the asterisk right here. So the first record that pops up is actually how you spell her last name. So you can go ahead and look through the record and see if that matches your relative. If you have any questions about the Ancestry database, you may call us at the reference desk at 701-241-1492, or you can email us at askreference@fargolibrary.org.